Hello YouTube, Dave here again. In this video I kind of want to start a bit of a discussion or a conversation. In the last couple of videos that I've done, I've talked about Tales from the Yawning portal. I did a video where I kind of discussed why I didn't feel that the title fit the product, and I have done a review for the overall product with reviews of the individual adventures still to come in the next couple of weeks. But I noticed a trend in the comments in any video where I've discussed Tales from the Yawning portal that I really kind of want to discuss, and again, kind of get individuals talking about it as well. One of the things that and I'm not going to say that I'm seeing a ton of these comments, but I am seeing enough of them, and I have seen them with some of the previously released D&D campaigns as well. And that's the overall accusation that Wizards of the Coast is simply reprinting stuff that's not original material for the sake of a cash grab, I guess is the most frequently used term. And I've heard that used when talking about Tales from the Yawning portal quite a bit, actually. And I probably didn't help matters in my own video where I did discuss the fact that most of the dungeon descriptions were copy and pasted, with the exception of like combat relevant or 5th edition relevant information, like skills that are used and so on and so forth. But it's something that, again, I've seen a lot of people talk about and saying that they don't like it. They think that it is just Wizards of the Coast trying to make cheap profit off of their previously released materials. The reason that I wanted to mention this is because while I hear a lot of that going on, an announcement was made with not that long ago that a company by the name of Goodman Games is going to be re-releasing classic D&D modules updated for 5th edition in hardcover form. And the first one that they're releasing is going to be modules B1 and B2, which I believe are being collected into one book. B1 I think is called In Search of the Unknown, or Search for the Unknown. I don't own that one, I've never actually seen it before, but the second one is the classic B2 Keep on the Borderlands. The reason that I wanted to make this video is because, again, I see a lot of people speaking poorly of Tales from the Yawning portal, where it's just reprinted classic adventures for 5th edition, with some of the adventures chosen maybe stretching the definition of the word classic, but being a similar product to what's going to be released by Goodman Games. Goodman Games are re-releasing the same adventures, updated for 5th edition, and they're including the same original artwork. Whereas Tales from the Yawning portal, at the very least, created brand new artwork for everything inside the book. So the reason that I kind of, again, want to talk about this is I've heard really nothing negative in terms of the announcement for Goodman Games re-releasing classic adventures updated for 5th edition, but I'm hearing a lot of people talk poorly about Wizards of the Coast updating classic adventures for 5th edition. So I guess what I really want to know, and I have my own theory which I'll get to, but what I really want to know is why the disconnect between Goodman Games re-releasing old material being awesome and Wizards of the Coast re-releasing older material as a shameless cash grab. And, I'm not going to say that Wizards of the Coast has never done things in the past that could be considered a shameless cash grab. Things like in 4th edition, splitting up the player's handbooks into 3 separate books, the Dungeon Master's Guide into 2. The Monster Manual not so much, because 3.5 and 3rd edition had 5 Monster Manuals total. That could be considered something of a cash grab. Back in 2012, Wizards of the Coast reprinted the Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master Guide, and Monster Manual for 3.5, which is something that they didn't have to do. But it was done basically to capitalize on the fact that they've already reprinted the 1st edition AD&D core books, and 3rd edition was still very popular. 1st edition was very popular in terms of retro clones, and they re-released their collector's or commemorative edition of those 3 books. Now, the 1st edition books were designed with the purpose of securing funds to have a statue built in honor of Gary Gygax in his hometown, where Dungeons & Dragons was created. And actually, honestly, I never really followed up, so I don't know if they ended up making that statue or not. It'll be something I'm probably going to look up after this video. But the decision to, within I think the same year, to re-release the 3.5 books was kind of baffling because, again, there was no reason for them to do that other than the fact that Pathfinder was still very popular and outselling 4th edition D&D, which was technically the current edition. So they re-released the core books in an attempt to capitalize on the popularity of Pathfinder, which was a product that in turn capitalized on the popularity of 3.5 in this kind of weird circle. Now, as bad as that could have been, although you could have said that was just kind of fulfilling a need or a niche thing, they also reprinted the Spell Compendium and the Magic Item Compendium. Now, I don't have the reprints. I do have the originals, and I didn't bother getting the reprints of those. But again, if this wasn't a cash grab, updating and reprinting two of the most popular supplements ever for 3.5, especially the Spell Compendium, which came out first, that definitely could have been considered a major cash grab. Along the same lines, they ended up reprinting the 2nd edition core books, which I don't think anybody really asked for, but if you've done the 1st edition and the 3.5, I guess they may as well do the 2nd edition ones. Speaking of reprints, they also reprinted Dungeons of Dread, which collected four or five classic adventures, 4 classic adventures from AD&D's past for 1st edition. Copied them basically, copy and pasted. Nothing was updated for future editions. These were the exact Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1st edition versions of the adventure. And they also did something similar for Against the Slave Lords, although Against the Slave Lords did introduce a new chapter to set up the events that would take place through modules A1 through A4. So those could again be considered more or less a shameless cash grab, capitalizing on the popularity of reprinting the 1st edition AD&D books, capitalizing on the popularity of Pathfinder, again capitalizing on the fact that they reprinted the Player's Handbook, DMG, and Monster Manual to capitalize on Pathfinder by bringing out again 2 of the more revered supplements that have been released for 3.5. So, not to say that Wizards of the Coast hasn't done things in the past that could be considered to be a shameless cash grab, but I don't consider Tales from the Yawning Portal to be along those lines. In my opinion, Tales of the Yawning Portal, and I wanted to do a video on this anyway, so I guess I'll kind of combine the 2 different ones. Tales from the Yawning Portal, in my opinion, isn't just trying to make a profit off of the fact that, hey, we have these really popular modules from the past. Let's just, dump them into a book and resell them and make people pay for them again. In my opinion, Tales from the Yawning Portal is a way of preserving the rich history of Dungeons & Dragons. For example, a lot of new players will have never had the opportunity to play through the Tomb of Horrors, whereas individuals that began playing back in the days of 1st edition AD&D, a lot of groups considered going through the Tomb of Horrors as almost a rite of passage. Like, you're a real D&D player after having gone through that dungeon, which, by the way, I've never actually done. But now I have an opportunity to at least run it for a current group using the updated version, which I think is really cool. So I consider this to be more of a celebration of D&D's history than trying to make a cheap buck off of previously released material. And I consider the same thing for the Goodman Games products being released as well, having them update the adventures for 5th edition and re-releasing them. I consider that again to be the preservation of D&D's history. It's an opportunity for current groups and newer gamers who were not around back when these came out. I mean, I wasn't even born in 1980, so I never got a chance to play Keep on the Borderlands. I did a few years, ago for a session or 2, but I never actually got the chance to go through the full thing. So with the release of the Goodman Games ones, I can now do that. I can run that adventure for a group under 5th edition, which is, in my opinion, the best version of D&D that's ever been released. So, again, why is one frowned upon and discouraged and discredited while the other, which is the exact same kind of concept, pretty much universally celebrated? And I think at the very core of it, whether people realize it or not, there's still this sort of trend of gamers really being hard on Wizards of the Coast. And it kind of goes back to, even going back to when they updated the 2nd edition books, which I think were in the works before they actually ended up taking over, if I'm 100%, are not 100% mistaken. But when Wizards of the Coast bought out TSR, shortly thereafter they released the black-covered second edition books, which I guess had some updates and some changes and things like that. So people were kind of upset about that. Third edition, again, was generally well received, but there were people that were upset with the fact that, 3 years later, 3.5 came out, and I've already dedicated a series of videos to the backlash against fourth edition. So I think that there's still this tendency in people to be overly critical of anything that Wizards of the Coast does, to the point where it almost feels like, they're never going to win no matter what they do. Even releasing an excellent product like Tales from the Yawning Portal, name issues notwithstanding, this is an excellent book. And again, it's a great way to allow new players who have never had an opportunity to play the previous editions to go through some of the most iconic dungeons that have ever been released as part of the game. Getting a chance for new players to be able to share their stories of going through the Tomb of Horrors with people that have gone through it, back 30 some odd years ago. I don't personally understand it. So what I'd like to kind of hear from some of you is, especially the ones that are really harsh on Tales from the Yawning Portal, what are your guys' opinion on the Goodman Games reprints? Are you guys excited for that? And if you are, why are you excited for the Goodman Games reprints while at the same time being very critical of the Wizards of the Coast reprints, which are essentially the same thing, only with more effort put into it because the Wizards of the Coast ones updated artwork and everything, whereas the Goodman Games is really just kind of updating the monster stats and introducing skills into the original adventures without really updating anything else, so, with the original artwork and everything else. So, again, I just kind of want to know what your guys' feelings are and your thought processes on that, because I love this book, and I'm looking forward to the reprints if I'm going to be able to get my hands on them. I don't know what the availability is going to be, but I'm hoping that I should be able to get them, when they do come out. So, again, just kind of let me know in the comments, what are your guys' thoughts on it? Why do you feel that this is such a horrible thing and this is going to be an awesome thing? I just kind of want to know. I think it would be an interesting discussion. So, but please, if you are going to comment on it, just keep it respectful, because not everybody has the same opinion. Everyone's entitled to having an opinion, which is always great. But again, I just kind of want to get a discussion going, because I think it's kind of an interesting thing that I'm seeing here, or a trend that I'm seeing with Wizards of the Coast being bashed for things that other companies are being praised for. So. Anyway, just leave your comments below. I welcome any discussion. Look forward to reading any of the comments that come up with this. So, again, sort of just, I guess, a little bit of a mini rant. I don't even know if rant's necessarily the proper term, but I just kind of wanted to shed some light on the situation and hopefully have some light shed on it for me. So, again, thank you guys very much for taking the time to watch this. Thank you to anybody who's going to take the time to comment on it, and I look forward to reading your comments.